I wake up with my heart pounding, my wife's screams echoing in my head. As I sit on the dirty motel bed, memories come flooding back to me in a sickening wave, catching Barb cheating on me, my elaborate revenge with a revolver, filing for divorce. I wipe my eyes and cast a blank stare around the motel room I've called home for the past 2 nights. My clothes are disheveled, my jacket and tie lying in a heap where I collapsed after last night's dramatic confrontation. The adrenaline that fueled my theatrical antics has long since worn off. All I feel now is emptiness. I splash my face with cold water from the sink, trying to make sense of everything that has happened. Just yesterday morning, I was happily making breakfast in our beautiful kitchen while Barb slept upstairs, blissfully unaware that my world was about to fall apart. I remember kissing her forehead as she sleepily wished me a good day at work, completely unaware that I would come home early to surprise her with an anniversary gift. Instead, I got the shock of a lifetime. My hands clenched into fists as I remembered walking into our bedroom and frozen at the sight of Barb, my beloved wife of 15 years, naked and writhing, under a strange man. He turned out to be Bob Simmons from my office, who I considered a friend. My memory flashed back to their shocked faces as they tried to cover themselves, stammering and apologizing. At that moment, something inside me shivered. All the resentment and rage came rushing out, and I lunged at them in a fury, threatening Bob with the revolver I happened to have in my suitcase after a weekend trip to the shooting range. I still can't figure out where this elaborate revenge stunt idea came from. A great desire to make them experience real visceral terror, a tiny fraction of the agony and betrayal raging inside me at that moment. Obviously, I wasn't thinking straight, caught up in the passion of my rage. What follows is a blur. I throw clothes at them, force them to dress despite their pleas, handcuffing them to the bed, twisting the revolver's chamber and pulling the trigger again and again, each click causing screams and sobs as they braced for a bullet that never came. Finally, I unlocked the handcuffs, tossing the key to Barb, informing her that the divorce papers would be served immediately. Bob nearly tripped, running out of the bedroom in terror. I threw one last scathing look of contempt at Barb, then ran out of the house, slamming the front door so hard that the glass rattled. I checked into the first motel I could find, rage still bubbling inside me, and sent Mike a quick text about what had happened. Then I drank half of the minibar and passed out, fully clothed on the bed. A sudden buzzing brings me out of my reverie. My phone lights up with an incoming call. It's my brother Mike. No doubt he's responding to the incoherent tirade I wrote to him last night. I take a deep breath to calm my nerves before answering. "Jerry, I'm sorry," Mike says with genuine concern in his voice. A heavy pause ensues. "Are you okay?" I almost laugh at the absurdity of the question, but instead I sigh heavily. "Honestly, brother, I don't even know how to begin to answer that question." My voice is hoarse with emotion. Mike gives me the latest details. Apparently, Barb's family is out for blood. She's furious and is demanding I be charged with assault or attempted murder. Her dad asked if I could have the cops shoot you, and I'm sure he wasn't kidding, Mike says. I told him to calm down. The gun wasn't even loaded. Tried to explain that you're not thinking straight after the shock of catching your wife cheating. He told me to back off and that his daughter was lucky you didn't kill her. Gee, I snorted derisively. She's very lucky I didn't kill her or that scumbag Bob. Did you know they were doing it in your bed, Mike? In the same bed we shared for 15 years of marriage, and she didn't even have the decency to move it elsewhere. My voice rises as anger and resentment come over me again. Mike calms me down, assuring me that it's not my fault at all. It's natural to feel rage over such a massive betrayal, Jerry. Anyone would snap, even if you didn't have a gambling problem and mood instability. Don't beat yourself up. And don't worry about the legal ramifications. I've got your back. We'll work it out. I feel my shoulders relax slightly and the knot in my gut loosen. We talk for over an hour about everything and nothing. Mike helps me back from the dark abyss I've been balancing on the edge of since I opened that damn bedroom door. By the time we hang up the phone, I feel more collected and balanced, and I no longer feel like I'm about to loosen up or do something stupid. I'll get through it somehow. I order breakfast at the motel diner and go through my work email on autopilot. My phone beeps with a calendar reminder I'm supposed to go to a gala tonight with Barb, the same one I bought her a new dress for. I close my eyes as a wave of nausea hits me. The pain seems endless, a vicious cycle of blinding rage, then emptiness, then rage again. I want to meet Barb and unleash new rage. I also desperately want to rewind time and not see what I'll never see. If I just go to the office instead of deciding to surprise her. My phone buzzes again. It's a string of unread messages from an unfamiliar number I don't recognize. The latest one reads, "We need to talk face to face. Please just hear me out." It's signed Barb. I stare at the phone for a long moment, clenching my jaw. Who does she think she is, trying to contact me so soon after everything that's happened? I block the mystery number and close the messages. I can't communicate with her right now. I finish eating and go outside to get some fresh air. As I walk to my car, a couple walks by, holding hands and laughing. I have to look away, my throat constricting. After 15 years with my high school sweetheart, I'm facing a future alone. Starting the engine, I realize I have nowhere to go. I can't bear the thought of returning to our house full of memories. But I also can't hide in this motel room forever. For now, I decide to head to my office downtown to try to distract myself with work. One step at a time, wherever it leads. All next week, I immerse myself in work, avoiding the problems of my personal life as much as possible. I spend long hours in the office, studying invoices and projects until my eyes glaze over anything to keep my mind occupied. Colleagues tiptoe around me, casting sly glances in my direction and leaning over to whisper when they think I can't hear. Rumors of my dramatic confrontation with Barb and Bob have already spread. The rumor mill in the office is throwing around all sorts of piquant speculation about what happened. I pick up snippets of gossip about Bob barricading himself in his office and refusing to talk to anyone. Meanwhile, the bosses are apparently discussing what to do about the whole messed up situation. Part of me doesn't care if I get fired at this point. I have nothing to lose. The only time I leave work is to meet with my divorce attorney and have dinners with Mike, who tries to cheer me up. We usually end up at a sports bar near my motel, eating greasy burgers and watching the games on the big screens. Mike never stops drinking beer and distracts me with funny stories from his performances. For a few hours, I can forget about the smoldering crater my life has become. When Mike convinces me to finally check my personal cell phone, I discover a string of unread messages from an unfamiliar number I blocked a few days ago. It seems Barb has temporarily acquired a new phone just to contact me. The messages begin strangely. No doubt she's trying to explain her betrayal. In the last one, she has given up on excuses and is just desperately begging for a face-to-face meeting. Against my better judgment, I agree to meet with Barb, not out of a desire for reconciliation, but to finish the conversation. Mike offers to join me for emotional support, but I decline. I need to meet with her alone. We arrange to meet at a coffee shop downtown, not far from my office. I arrive 15 minutes early and take a table, nerves frazzled. I keep looking around, expecting to see her ahead of time, and I have to talk myself into it. Just stay calm, I tell myself. Everything here is in your hands. Finally, Barb enters, just in time. She looks almost as awful as I do, unwashed hair, dark circles under her eyes. She obviously hasn't gotten much sleep either. I try to keep a neutral expression on my face as she orders her usual coffee and then carefully sits down across from me. We exchange strained pleasantries about the weather. I take a small amount of satisfaction in the fact that Barb seems awkward. She's usually so collected and energetic in public. Right now, she doesn't even make eye contact, staring at her hands, gripping her coffee cup tightly. An awkward silence ensues before Barb finally speaks. Jerry, I don't even know where to begin. I'm sorry isn't everything. What I did is unforgivable. You have every right to never speak to me again. My anger flares as I think back to all of our happy years together, completely ruined by her selfishness. Then why are we here, Barb? If you know how badly you screwed up, why couldn't you just sign the papers and disappear like we agreed? Barb looks at me pleadingly. Because you deserve a real explanation. Not that it would change anything or make things better. Her voice shakes slightly. But maybe it will give us both some closure. I cross my arms across my chest, preparing for Barb to tell me how trapped she felt in our stale routine, how Bob helped her feel alive again. I listen with a stone face as she talks about the black hole she's found herself in over the past week, realizing she's ruined our life together. I know I can't justify what I did, Barb finishes quietly. I will regret it until the day I die. But these past months have helped me realize that you are my soulmate, Jerry. I've taken your love for granted, and I'll do anything to make up for it, if you'll let me try. Her voice is cut short as she looks at my face, hopefully through glistening tears. For a few minutes we sit in grave silence. Then I stand up abruptly, toss $10 on the table for the untouched black coffee, and meet Barb's gaze. I appreciate you telling me all this, Barb. Have a nice life. I walk out without looking back and can finally take a breath once I'm outside. As nice as it feels, it won't change the facts my marriage is over. Now I can start moving forward. Over the next few weeks, I pack up the house we shared with the help of Mike and a few buddies. I give Barb's stuff to Goodwill rather than contacting her. Sometimes when I'm packing up old albums and knickknacks, some memory hits me hard and I have to step back to pull myself together. Gradually, life is getting back to normal. I've found a new apartment downtown, sleek and modern. My job remains secure. My boss has apparently blamed Bob, who has since quit. And my lawyer says the divorce should be finalized within a month. At least the process was civil, since Barb feels too guilty to contest anything. Small victories. Mike has taken me out a few times to try to meet women, but I end up just going through with it, making excuses for leaving early. At the bar, I subconsciously compare every woman to Barb, and they all fall short. The hurt is still too close, the wounds too raw. I tell myself I just need more time to heal and figure myself out as a newly single guy. Late one night, I'm awakened by a knock on my apartment door. Still half asleep, I peek through the peephole and see a very drunk, very upset Barb sobbing about how she made a terrible mistake, that she wants me back and is willing to do anything to make it right. I open the door and Barb nearly falls into my arms. As she desperately talks about our love and our future together, my heart, against all odds, breaks. Underneath all the pain and bitterness, a part of me still cares deeply for her. We have 15 years together, and I know Barb better than anyone. I gently tell Barb that we have to make the decision to divorce. It is the healthiest way forward after too much damage has been done to our relationship. She needs to move on, and so do I. Calling a cab for Barb, I sit stunned on the couch where she passed out a few minutes ago. This whole roller coaster ride is keeping me on my toes. Will I ever stop loving her? How will I ever trust someone new when my own wife can betray me so callously? I think back to our wedding day when we said our vows, showered with love and hopes for our bright future together. We were so naive then. I need to accept that life rarely works out the way we expect. But in time, perhaps, I can come to terms with that. I'm settled into my swanky new bachelor apartment downtown, trying to embrace the single life. To cheer myself up, I'm joining an amateur basketball league at the local community center, something I've wanted to do for years, but never found the time to do. I'm renewing old friendships that were sidelined during my marriage, no longer bound by the obligations of a couple. My divorce attorney reports that things are going smoothly. Since Barb is too tormented by guilt to contest anything, the process at least remains amicable. We are less than a month away from the court hearing where the judge will sign the final divorce decree. It's busy at work, as always, which creates a certain sense of normalcy. But sometimes on my lunch break, a song comes on the radio that reminds me of Barb, and a wave of sadness comes over me without warning. Or I spot a dress in a store window that she would have loved and instinctively make a mental note to tell her about it before I remember our new reality. Little triggers like that ambush me when I least expect it. In these moments, the pain of her absence still feels fresh, like a wound that has no way of closing. I tell myself that this is part of the grieving process. When enough time has passed, these agonizing feelings will disappear. On weekends, Mike drags me to bars and parties, intent on getting me back into the dating scene. I half-heartedly flirt with a few women, but inevitably make excuses and leave early, preferring the solitude of my apartment. At the bar, I subconsciously evaluate each girl, mentally comparing her to Barb. Her sense of humor, the way she moves, the sound of her laugh, and they all fall short. The hurt is still too close, the wound's too raw. "You have to get over her," Mike says after I emerge from yet another singles mixer. Barb wasn't some magical unicorn. There are plenty of beautiful women out there who are more suited to you, but you'll never meet them moping and sullen. I know Mike has something good to say, but all these connections seem so forced, and I'm getting tired of making small talk with strangers. I'm still trying to figure out how to enjoy my own company again. Getting into a new relationship seems premature when I'm so emotionally distraught. Late one night, I am awakened by a frantic pounding on my door. Before I even come to my senses, I peek through the door peephole and see a very drunk, very upset Barb sobbing into the phone. She keeps mumbling that she needs to see me, needs to explain everything. Against my better judgment, I open the door. Barb almost falls into my arms, reeking of wine, and she desperately mumbles that leaving me was the biggest mistake of her life, that she'll make it up to me forever if I give her another chance. My heart sinks despite all the pain still lingering. Beneath the pain and bitterness, a part of me still cares deeply for Barb. We have 15 years of life together, and she knows me better than anyone else. When she looks at me pleadingly, waiting for my response, and tears roll down her flushed cheeks, I don't have the heart to just slam the door. I gently tell Barb that we have to make the decision to divorce. It's the healthiest path for both of us after too much damage has been done to my reputation. She needs to move on, and so do I. Calling a cab for Barb, I sit stunned on the couch where she passed out minutes before. I was overwhelmed with emotion again from this encounter. I knew the divorce would crush Barb as soon as it finally settled in my mind. But I must hold that boundary firmly, no matter how painful it was for both of us. Over the next week, I shut myself away, thinking about all of this. I think back to when we said our vows under the flower arch, elated with love and hope for our future together. We were so naive then, not realizing how unpredictable life's journey could be. And now here we are, two strangers bound by heartache. I need to come to terms with the fact that the future I envisioned has evaporated. But the fact that Barb has lost herself so completely also seems like a tragedy. She was always a passionate, creative person. I hope that in time she can rediscover the fire and lust for life within her. I know that deep down, the woman I truly loved is still out there somewhere. As for me, I've realized that if I shut myself down because of fear or bitterness, the loneliness will only get worse. When the time comes, I must reopen myself to the unexpected beauty of life, and that includes other relationships. That's the only way I can relearn to trust. For now, I'm grateful to have this quiet space for introspection, a chance to pick up the pieces at my own pace. The road ahead remains murky, but no longer seems as insurmountable as it did a month ago. The healing is slow, but at least it's coming. Wherever I end up, I hope Barb finds peace as well. We both deserve it. The day of the divorce finalization was warm and sunny, a stark contrast to my inner instability. I adjust my tie with trembling fingers, realizing the reality of what I have to do. In a few hours, I will no longer be Barb's husband. Our 15-year relationship will be officially dissolved. Part of me still can't believe this is my new reality. When we exchanged vows under the flower arch all those years ago, we were so blissfully naive, absolutely certain that our pure love would conquer any challenges. How I wish I could go back and shake my younger self, to warn him that even the strongest of bonds can break without warning. I think about trying to undo it even now, but I know the door has long since closed. Too much damage has been done to save our marriage. The only thing left to do is to move forward alone. I arrive at the courtroom early, too anxious to wait in my empty apartment. The fluorescent lights buzz as I wander the lobby, immersed in memories. I was young and in love with Barb, dreaming of our enchanting future together. Holiday mornings, laughing in bed, her head on my chest. Candlelight dinners on our anniversary, toasts to a lifetime of happiness. Were there signs from the beginning that we were drifting apart that I consciously ignored? Or was the corrosion happening slowly, imperceptibly, over the years? My swirling thoughts are interrupted by hurried footsteps echoing down the hallway. I look up and stunned to see Barb rushing toward me, wild-eyed and clutching a bouquet of slightly wilted roses. Before I can react, she desperately grabs my hands. "Jerry, wait, please don't do this. I made the worst mistake of my life, but I will forever make it up to you. Tell me we still have a shred of hope." Her voice trails off, tears streaming down her flushed cheeks. My head is spinning, blinded by this emotional ambush minutes before the hearing. As I search for words, Barb continues with awe. "These months without you have made me realize that you are my soulmate, my one true love. I don't expect you to forgive me or trust me after betraying you, but you and I have too much history to part forever without trying." Her pleading eyes beg me to reconsider, to give her another chance. My heart sinks, even though I don't believe myself. Underneath all the underlying resentment, a part of me still cares deeply for Barb. We've been through so much together over the years. Will we be able to overcome this challenge too? Temptation lingers in my chest. At that moment, the bailiff calls our names. Barb squeezes my hand, her eyes pleading with me to ask for a continuance, to walk out those doors with her and leave all this legal wreckage behind. I see a glimmer of fresh hope in her eyes and hate myself for what I have to do next. Carefully removing Barb's hand, I meet her look full of misery. I can't. Too much damage has already been done. My voice trembles slightly. It's the only way we can both heal and move on. "I'm sorry." I turn and head for the courtroom, unable to bear the look on Barb's face. The sounds of her muffled sobs fade as the heavy doors slam shut behind me with terrifying finality. I stare straight ahead, taking a seat at the table awaiting the judge. In just a few minutes, the gavel will fall, closing this painful chapter forever. I should feel relief, a sense of closure after this emotional roller coaster. Instead, all I feel is emptiness. I know that in time, this pain will dull and new possibilities will emerge from under the rubble. But today, all I can do is silently wish Barb a happy journey wherever it may lead her in this life.